The first thing the sales rep from BeatLink had me do was close my eyes and listen. I was standing in a room of soundproofed white panels, palms up beneath a halo of scanners, and all I could hear was the soft metronome inside my own chest. 40 seconds later, the silence parted, and another beat faded in through hidden speakers. It sounded like mine, but not quite. Faster by a hair, the cadence lighter, almost curious. The moment the two rhythms met, the air between them seemed to hum, as if they were magnets finding complementary poles. Compatibility index 92, the rep announced. That is our second highest category. You'll want the chrome wrist device. She offered a narrow band that looked like polished mercury. Whose heartbeat was that? I asked. Your match, she said, cheerful and practiced. You'll meet tomorrow evening. The wristband will stream their live cardiac data. If either of you feels uncomfortable, you can request to stop. But you should know most clients find the link. Grounding. I might have walked out right then if loneliness hadn't felt heavier than doubt. 2 years after my last relationship, I had perfected the art of pretending to be busy, joining hobby groups, answering late-night emails that did not need answers, watching floors of my apartment building go dark while I made another cup of tea I didn't want. BeatLink's ads promised silence would never feel empty again. Every cynic's alarm bell rang, but the idea of a steady counterpoint on my wrist, proof that someone was out there paired with me, was too tempting. So I signed the waiver, accepted the chrome circlet, and spent the next 24 hours alternately staring at, then refusing to look at, the resting pulse line that scrolled across its tiny screen. At 7:05 p.m. the following night, I stepped into the Lumen Garden, a greenhouse full of nocturnal blooms and programmed fireflies, rented exclusively by BeatLink. My guide left me beside a pond shaped like a teardrop. Hover drones projected the only illumination, arcs of violet and lime that slid across glass leaves. I felt the first vibration on my wrist, 3 tapered buzzes, the notification pattern for match within 10 meters. I turned, and there was Jordan. We traded the same startled smile, the same shy laugh, as if we had rehearsed. Jordan's wristband pulsed a soft gold that matched mine, and for a moment we both glanced down, then back at each other, catching ourselves gawking like kindergarteners comparing new sneakers. Hi, I said. Hi, Jordan answered. BeatLink's psych sheet had encouraged openers that referenced the link, capital L. I ignored the script. Do you come to secret sci-fi gardens often? Jordan's laugh fluttered, exactly the way I'd imagined when I first heard that lighter beat in the booth. Only when coerced by extensive user agreements. It was enough. For the next 2 hours, we wandered through bioluminescent orchids, letting conversation leap from favorite nightmare to half-forgotten childhood snacks, stupid workplace rivalries, books neither of us had finished. Each time Jordan stretched an arm to point at something distant, the chrome band peeked from under a jacket cuff. My own device vibrated, mimicking every elevation in Jordan's pulse. The quick spike when a koi jumped for a soggy petal, the lull during a moment of comfortable silence. It felt less like surveillance, more like a shared radio station tuned to a private frequency. Toward the end of the night, Jordan excused themselves for the restroom. The second their silhouette slipped behind a silk partition, my screen tremored. Single buzz, the code for out of range. I waited. 30 seconds, 90. Still out of range. I pictured Jordan climbing out a bathroom window, ditching the whole experiment. A reasonable exit strategy, I told myself, even admirable. Just as I began rehearsing the apology I'd text the service, the device chirped, and Jordan reappeared, dabbing damp palms on their jeans. Sorry, they said. Long line. The heartbeat resynced, but one thing was different. It seemed louder. Not literally, the volume slider was constant, but louder in my mind, as though an amplifier had been inserted between us. I chalked it up to nerves. Later, I would replay that moment like a cracked frame of film. We saw each other again 3 times over the next 12 days. Once at an outdoor cinema, where our synchronized pulses rattled the popcorn bucket between us. Once on the top deck of the river ferry, yelling over gulls. And once in my kitchen at 1 a.m., the night we discovered we both cultivated basil plants we forgot to water. It was the kind of courtship montage cheap romantic dramas would condense into a minute, but living inside it felt like walking through warm rain. On the 14th day, Jordan suggested we meet at a pop-up sculpture show across town, anonymous steel beasts that breathed fog when approached. I arrived 5 minutes early, the chrome band displaying Jordan's resting rate, 61 BPM. I waited. 10 minutes, 20. The number never wavered. I tried calling. It went straight to voicemail. Texts bounced unread. The heartbeat, though, kept traveling from Jordan's chest, wherever that chest was, to the vessel on my wrist. 61, like a monk's meditation bell. BeatLink's FAQ listed a dozen benign reasons a partner might miss a date. Transit shutdowns, sudden migraines, family emergencies. Reason number 13 read, in accordance with Privacy Policy 6B, BeatLink cannot disclose user activity beyond confirmed biometric function. Please respect your match's right to absence. I did not respect it. I rode the subway to Jordan's neighborhood, buzzed their apartment, shouted their name into the tin speaker until a tenant threatened to call security. Nothing. I did learn that the building had no functioning fire escape, only sealed windows. That night, alone in bed, I pressed my thumbnail against the screen, forcing the backlight to maximum. 61 BPM, occasionally 62, never lower. I fell asleep to its stubborn cadence, certain I would dream of metal birds. By morning, I was angry enough to visit BeatLink's downtown clinic. The lobby smelled like almond disinfectant and water fountains. A receptionist in graphite scrubs greeted me with a smile that appeared custom-coded. Comforting but not flirtatious, engaged but not enthusiastic enough to imply personal investment. I need to know where my match is, I said. I understand your concern. Unfortunately, we can only confirm that Jordan's biometric feed is fully operational. She indicated my wristband, which had begun to throb under the ceiling's proximity sensor. 63 BPM. That's not enough, I told her. She folded her hands in a neat triangle. Our service is designed to foster emotional intimacy without compromising client safety or anonymity. Jordan opted into partial disclosure. They may explain more when they're ready. Or they won't. I leaned in. What happens when someone disappears but their heart keeps talking? Her expression didn't change. We have no record of Jordan reporting personal distress. If they are disengaging from the social component of the program, the link remains. That is standard setting. I almost quoted the rumors I'd read on thread after thread of half-deleted forums. Partners who ghosted in the most literal sense, leaving behind only a wristband beating like the tail of a lizard that no longer needed the rest of the animal. But I doubted scare stories would move a woman who probably recited compliance bullet points in her sleep. Outside, drizzle blurred the avenues, and the rhythm on my arm ticked on. I called Morgan. She was an ex-roommate who now reverse-engineered everything from smart fridges to employee ID scanners, mostly for pay, sometimes for fun. She arrived at my apartment carrying a laptop plastered with obsolete airline stickers and a coil of jumper wires. The hardware is locked down, she warned me, prying the wristband's micro-seam with a guitar pick. If the data packets are encrypted server-side, we're out of luck. She spoke while typing blister fast. Lines of cipher scrolled, stalled, re-scrolled. After an hour, she whistled. I can't unpack the whole stream, but there's metadata leaking through. Coordinates. What kind of coordinates? GPS pings, innate hardware feature, probably for the company's liability audits. They tried masking it, but whoever wrote the firmware forgot to salt the timestamps. She rotated the laptop. On the map, a single point pulsed, echoing the BPM display. 64 now. The dot sat 20 miles south, outside the city grid, in an industrial zone hugging the river's abandoned East Branch. I'm driving, I said, grabbing keys. Morgan insisted on coming. If there's Black Ops mob stuff, I want hazard pay, she said, half joking. Night had settled by the time we found the warehouse. It was the color of spoiled milk, edges eaten by rust. A sagging banner over the bay door still read, Aquila Cold Storage. No guards, no cameras we could see. The padlock was new, though. Morgan popped it with a pry bar like cracking ice. Inside smelled of antique ammonia. We clicked on flashlights and followed the beam across conveyor belts, metal hooks, and finally toward a faint glow in the deepest aisle. The temperature rose with every step until condensation dripped from ceiling bolts. We reached a room within the warehouse, a cube of white plastic panels that drew electricity from thick orange cords. Its door stood open. The light inside was honey-warm and steady, nothing like an operating theater, more like a yoga studio designed by someone who hated windows. Along each wall stood what I can only call cradles, horizontal cylinders of translucent polymer, each cradling a person. They weren't strapped down, just lying as though in water. A mask over nose and mouth feeding soft vapor. Wires ran from patches on their ribs to the base of the cradle, where a small screen flashed a heartbeat icon. Morgan mouthed, "Holy shit." I walked the aisle, scanning faces, expecting to find Jordan asleep behind glass. The fourth cradle on the right shattered my expectations by proving me right. There they were, hair a bit flatter, cheeks paler, but unmistakably Jordan. Barefoot in blue scrubs, hands folded over the void between breaths. The screen at the foot of the cradle read, Active link 65 BPM. My wristband displayed 65 in the same instant. I put a hand on the cylinder. It was warm, pliable. "Jordan," I whispered, as if that might be enough to conjure consciousness. "Step away, please," a voice said behind us. She wore a white coat, Beat Link logo on the breast pocket, and carried no weapon, just a tablet. Her short silver hair looked almost ceremonial. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Dr. Lena Varick, Director of Somatic Research." Her tone suggested the title should settle every question. "You have breached a restricted facility." Morgan lifted her phone to snap a picture. Varick raised one eyebrow. "Transmit images and your match will suffer." I looked at Jordan's still chest and believed her. Morgan pocketed the phone. "What is this place?" I asked. "The Echelon Unit," Varick said. "A subsection of our service reserved for clients whose compatibility crosses a critical threshold. You and Jordan ranked 92, very high. In such cases, we offer an advanced protocol that ensures neither partner endures separation anxiety." "By kidnapping one of them?" My voice cracked. "Jordan didn't agree to this." "They did," Varick said. "We explained the procedure in detail. Temporary suspension of ambulatory agency is in the contract. Many clients sign out of trust. Some never read past Clause 4. She tapped her tablet. The Echelon maintains them in serene stasis while broadcasting a stabilized cardiac rhythm to their counterpart. That rhythm steadies stress hormones, improves sleep, and increases overall emotional well-being for the linked partner. "You mean me," I said, nausea cooling my gut. "I'm your test subject." "Beneficiary," she corrected. "Look at your metrics this past fortnight. Your resting heart rate, cortisol markers, REM cycles. You are thriving." "Let them go." "That would defeat the intervention's purpose." Varick sighed, genuinely regretful. "Soon we will invite you to join Echelon as well. Most pairs ultimately prefer the mutual option. 2 hearts, 1 container, no distance." Morgan stepped forward. "This is illegal and medically insane. We're leaving with Jordan." Varick gestured to the ceiling, and a row of turret-sized cameras whirred awake. "Attempting removal will trigger cardiovascular inversion. Stasis terminated, link dissolved. Translation, cardiac arrest within 90 seconds. For both of you." She sounded bored, but her eyes flicked from me to Morgan. "You won't risk it," Morgan whispered. "We need leverage." I stared at Jordan, counting the slow inhale-exhale cycle. 65, 64, 65. My anger quieted. Something else surfaced, sharper than fear. A stubborn certainty that a heartbeat belonged in its owner's body, not distilled through corporate glass. You said removal kills us, I told Varric, but you need me alive. I'm the data outcome you're advertising. If I die, your board loses millions, maybe the whole company. Your security system's a bluff. Varric's mask cracked. For a blink, she looked nervous. That blink gave Morgan time to yank the cradle's nearest power conduit from its socket. On my wrist, the BPM count vanished, replaced by 3 red dashes. Alarms erupted, overhead lights strobed. Jordan's eyes fluttered. Varric lunged. Morgan swung the pry bar, catching Varric's arm. The doctor stumbled, tablet crashing against the floor, scattering shards and code. I found the latch on the cradle lid, slammed it open. Warm mist burst out, dampening my sleeves. Jordan coughed, sat up too fast, then sagged. I hooked an arm around their shoulders. "We're going," I said. Morgan jammed the pry bar through the door's locking mechanism, buying us a minute before anyone could follow. We half-dragged, half-carried Jordan through the warehouse maze. The night air outside felt knife-cold after the cradle's tropical heat. In the car, Jordan shivered under a blanket retrieved from my trunk. "How long?" they rasped. 4 days, I guessed. Every syllable felt like a lie I wished weren't necessary. "We're safe now." Their hand found mine. Even without the wrist device, offline, inert, I could sense that steady percussion in their grip, raw, unfiltered. We ditched the wristbands by the river. They sank without a ripple. 2 days later, Morgan uploaded every file scraped from Varric's shattered tablet to a dozen whistleblower platforms. By the time BeatLink's lawyers mobilized, the story was everywhere. "Lovers frozen for profit," read one headline. "Your heartbeat isn't yours," crooned another. Civil suits multiplied like fungi after rain. The company issued statements about rogue subdivisions and experimental opt-in wellness programs. But consumer trust hemorrhaged faster than spin doctors could suture. Jordan stayed at my apartment during the chaos. Sometimes they startled awake, gasping, pupils huge, as if searching for missing walls of light. I would touch my fingers to the hollow of their wrist and feel real blood thrum. One dawn, we watched gulls raid the trash boats along the pier. The sky was cheap watercolor. The gulls didn't care. "Do you ever miss it?" Jordan asked. "The link?" "Not the way they used it," I said. Jordan nodded. "Me neither." Then softer. "But I like the idea that our hearts knew each other first." I reached for their hand. "They can still talk," I said. "We'll just listen closer." We stood there, pulse against pulse, counting nothing but the uneven music 2 bodies make when they choose, even after algorithms, contracts, and captivity, to keep time together on their own.